So there's a huge trend going on right now. Everybody wants to be a millionaire. Listen, include me, okay? But millionaire is a mindset before it's actually something physically tangible that you can achieve. And that's what we're talking about today. Hey, everybody, it's your girl Leah T. Porter, and I am back with another episode. And today we are talking about the millionaire mindset and how it starts in your mind before you can actually achieve it. Listen, there is nothing wrong with wanting to be wealthy, with wanting to be a millionaire. Listen, I want to be a millionaire, okay? I want this money. Yes, I do. But that should not be the only reason, right, that you do the work that you do. And it should not be the only thing that you are moving forward to. And so it's okay to aspire to that, but you have to make sure that you are taking the necessary steps, one, for it to actually come true. And you want to make sure that you are not prioritizing success over the journey, right? The ending goal or the ending product, being a millionaire, over the journey and what it takes to get there. And first, it starts in the mind. It starts in the mind, and I feel like it starts through embodiment as well. Not only thinking I want to be a millionaire or thinking how can I become a millionaire, but embodying that, right? Making decisions that are going to lead to you actually being a millionaire. So we're going to jump right into it. Having a millionaire mindset is not thinking short term, but it's actually thinking long term. You're thinking in decades, you're not thinking in months. So you're asking yourself, long term, right? What am I building? What does that look like? What systems am I putting into place? And what foundations am I laying in order for me to reach my goal long term? All of those things are super important. And you need to make sure that you're super clear. What are you building? Making sure that you know product, project, whatever it is, the business, the service, making sure that you're really in tune and you understand what you're building. And also going a step further, you also understand who you're building it for, right? Is this a product or this a project or a business or a service that people actually want, that people are actually going to buy, that people are actually going to connect to? So you must know what you're building. Then you want to know what systems you put in place. I have another YouTube video about this, why it's important to build systems in your businesses so that way you can go from hustling to actually operating a business. And that one, listen, this one, y'all, is a game changer. You have to make sure that you put the proper systems in place and systems that can work over time. The best thing that you can do for yourself and for your business is to put in a system that works well and that you can keep, that you can tweak kind of here and there, that you can keep forever. No matter if it's you, no matter if it's an assistant, no matter if it's a product manager, no matter if it's another producer, they can clearly follow that system because it works and it has a proven track record. When you get to a point to where your business is running like a well-oiled machine, listen, there's nothing like it. And then when we're thinking long term, we want to think about what foundation am I laying down, right? What is the foundation of the work that I'm doing? So those three things are super important. Making sure that you know what you're building, making sure that you have systems in place, and make sure that you know you have a solid foundation. And that is how you plan in decades and not months. And listen, make a list, right? Do a strategic plan. I think it's important to do a strategic plan for your personal life, what you want to achieve in your personal life, and then also making a strategic plan for your business. And do a year, do 5 years, do 10 years, do 20 years, right? And then from that strategic plan, you start looking at what are some things that I can do today, that I can implement today, that my future self is going to kiss me on the forehead for. Next is a big one. And listen, I want y'all to come close so you can hear me. Come a little closer, a little closer. Ownership over appearance. And listen, this is a two-part one, right? Ownership. Let's talk about ownership first. As a creative, it is super important for you to own your IP, own your intellectual property. And especially in this world, right? We've seen on social media how so many people have come up with ideas, have went viral, and then they don't protect themselves. They don't, put in a trademark or copyright, their song or their slang. And then somebody else that is not even attached to them goes and puts in an application for the trademark. You have to make sure that you own your IP, own your intellectual property. That is important, especially for creatives, especially for public facing creatives, people that are creating things, coming up with ideas, and then you're putting them out into the world world to be viewed and for people to engage. You never know when something can happen and when your quote unquote big break is, right? And so you have to make sure that you're protecting yourself. And not only public facing figures, but any creative doing any type of creative work, artistic work, ownership, owning your IP. And then there's this concept of ownership over appearance, right? Which is a little different from the ownership of IP, but that conversation is about wanting to look successful, wanting to have a certain aesthetic that you look like a millionaire, right? Looking like a millionaire is not as important as making sure that you own your assets. Make sure that you are able to sustain yourself, right? That is important. So ownership over appearance, making sure that you're taking care of yourself as a creative and you are doing what's necessary to protect your IP, whether that be trademark, whether that be copyright, all of those things like that. But then also not getting caught up in the appearance of looking like a millionaire and having that aesthetic. Next is discipline and patience. Having the discipline to show up every single day is necessary, especially if you are going to be an entrepreneur. That discipline is going to be what really truly drives you to the next level. And discipline could be looked at in multiple different ways. You have emotional discipline, you have financial discipline, which is a big one, right? You cannot be someone who is asking to be a millionaire, but you're not able to adequately be able to budget and plan and be a good steward of $10,000. You take $10,000 and you don't know what to do with it. You take $100 and you don't know what to do with it. If you cannot properly manage hundreds of dollars or thousands of dollars, you will not be able to magically be able to manage and have the discipline to manage and be a good steward of millions of dollars. And so you have to start that discipline, practicing that discipline now. And you have to think, and this is a big one for me, having a large amount of money shouldn't necessarily be your goal. If it is, it's fine. But having freedom, right? It's the freedom that having an abundance of wealth brings. And that is what you should be chasing. You should be chasing freedom and not money. In order to do that, you have to really discipline yourself emotionally, mentally, physically, right? Showing up strong, making sure that you are healthy so that way you can take the necessary steps to grow your business, like all of those different things like that, right? Discipline in every inch and every area of your life, including financial discipline. And then patience. You have to be willing to be okay with delayed gratification, because any successful business owner, anybody that is doing it at a really high level, will tell you that it took them years to get to a place of financial freedom or a place of success, whatever success looks like to you, right? Or to them, because that could look different to each person. But it took years. Oftentimes we see, again, the end product. I talk about this all the time. We see when the product comes out. We see when a show is finished. We see when somebody reaches this pinnacle idea of success. But we are not privy sometimes to the little small moments, the years that it took to get there. And so you have to have patience. You have to know that it is not going to happen overnight. You know, I've been told in several situations and I've heard several times that there's no such thing as an overnight success. Somebody that may look like an overnight success to you, if you go back and follow their story, you're going to see that they've been doing that thing for many years before it took off. Or if somebody actually is an overnight success, it might not last. So you have to have the patience to put in the work, to stay disciplined and do the things that you need to do and that's necessary. And over time, it will happen. Over time, it will happen if you do it correctly. And then lastly, you want to make sure that you align your values with wealth, right? And as a creative and as an entrepreneur, especially us as creatives, oftentimes we want to say yes to every project, right? Maybe because we love it. We love the work that we do and we don't mind being in it. But we want to make sure that the projects that we're working on and the things that we're taking on really aligns with our values. So we have to start getting picky and start getting choosy on what projects we're going to work on, what projects we're going to put our attention on, what partnerships, what type of partnerships. And listen, it's not from a situation, especially when it comes comes to partnership. Like, this seems like a good opportunity, right? You don't want to use people or do things because it's a good opportunity. There is a difference between being an opportunist and making sure that you are doing projects that align with your values, right? And if you know that getting to a certain place as a creative or as an entrepreneur, creative entrepreneur, you want to make sure that the projects that you personally decide to work on and that you partner on, make sure that they align with that vision as well. And so again, being a millionaire starts with all of these little small steps first, making sure that you're thinking long term. You're not thinking in months, but you're actually thinking in decades. Ownership over appearance, making sure that you're really focusing on owning your intellectual property and not just on the aesthetics of what things look like. Discipline and patience, having financial discipline, having emotional discipline, having work discipline, and then also having the patience, knowing that your gratification might be delayed, but if you pay special attention to those little small details and make sure that you're staying disciplined, that eventually it will happen for you. And then aligning your values and your creativity with wealth, making sure that each project that you decide personally to work on, but that also are involving your partnerships, are aligned with the values that you have set for yourself and the goals that you have set for yourself. So building a mindset around being a millionaire is where you should start. Actually moving towards freedom and not to have this huge compound of money should be where your mind is, right? You are moving to a place and moving to a space where you want to acquire that freedom for yourself, not just gaining all of this money. And listen, if it's about the money, it's not about freedom, cool. But even so, you still have to make sure that you do it right. And it still has to start in the mind, right? The work that you do is important. The work that you do matters. And you want to make sure that your mindset is on the holistic aspect of the work, right? And the money and becoming a millionaire should only be one extension of that. It should not be your only core reason for showing up every day and doing the work. Thank you all for joining me for another episode. See you next time.